Mike's on.
All right, the Aaron Boone Report is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, the official sub-sandwich shop of the New York Yankees, by Mercedes-Benz of Paramus on Route 17. Pick Paramus for your new Mercedes-Benz today, and by the New York Community Bank and the NYCB family of banks online at mynycb.com. The manager of the Yankees is Aaron Boone. Aaron, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing, Mike?
All right, Aaron. Things are kind of rolling along as Tampa comes to town after seeing Washington. You're going to see him again next week, too. Good club, first of all, and you're going to see him again in that doubleheader on Monday. You're going to play the suspended game first, so you got to move that doubleheader into action, too, next week, right, on Monday.
Yeah, no question. It is a good team. Kind of bring some different elements. A couple of guys that are big-time base stealers. They push the envelope. Obviously, they got some star players, and we saw what's looking like a young star player in Soto who really hurt us yesterday. But they're a tough club, no doubt.
You have some of this too now. I mean, a lot of it, not a little. And we've seen this become so big in baseball. I mean, the Braves, Soto, Torres, Andujar, Judge. Why do you think these guys now come up and have this kind of success so quickly now? I mean, do you think they're getting better development? Do you think they're not as intimidated? Why do you think guys come up now and seem to handle things so well and really make such a big presence so early?
It is a good question, and I'm not exactly sure what the answer, other than maybe we've gotten better as an industry, and being in 2018 and what truly helps make a player be successful and how to teach certain things perhaps, and kind of taking the player as the whole and putting them in an environment to almost kind of raise players up through the minor league system so that they are ready, not only physically, but all that goes with being a big leaguer, that they're ready when they get here to handle all the stuff that goes with it.
Let me ask you if you think this is true, Aaron, because an old player told me this. He says, I'll tell you what's a big difference now. And he says maybe this is the Players Association, maybe this is just life in general, but there's no hazing or no idea where they have to just be rookies anymore. They're not treated like rookies anymore, right? They're treated like full-time players, like pros right from the start, right? It used to be that wasn't the way in the old days.
Yeah, that's a good point, too, and it's something that's really important to us here with the Yankees is that, having an environment in place to where these guys come up and, we want them to, they're rookies and there are certain things you got to earn your stripes on certain things, but we really encourage guys to be themselves. We feel like we have a culture in place, a clubhouse in place that makes guys feel welcome, makes guys feel at home almost right away, and I think that's a good point by you. I think it's certainly a factor in guys coming in and being comfortable and delivering right away.
I mean, we saw Judge's confidence last year. I mean, you look at Torres, the thing that just jumps out at you, and Andujar, they're very confident. They're confident in big situations. They're confident when there's big at-bats against big pitches. They're very confident players.
Yeah, and I think that's part DNA, part who they are, part, being really good players and talented players and being able to handle those kind of situations. I think it's part the organization and the way they kind of raise them up through the minor leagues and kind of preparing them for this moment, but also, like you said, I think coming up here and immediately feeling like they can kind of be themselves and it allows them to feel comfortable right away, and there's so many examples of guys thriving and being impact players right from the get-go at a very young age.
Well, the guy who started this in this wave was Sanchez, and he was unbelievable when he first came up. Did stuff like we had never seen a guy do in a short period of time, and did it last year again, but is clearly struggling this year and really struggling with the breaking ball. I mean, seems like he's off balance, seems like he's lunging a lot. What do you see as he's gone through this slump?
I see him chasing results a little bit. I think he's been beat up a little bit. Look, I think he's fine and good to play, and I think part of the break for me these last 2 days around the off day on Monday, so essentially giving him 3 days, was just to give him a little blow physically. I really don't worry about him from a confidence standpoint or like I need to give him a blow because I think he understands he can really hit, and I haven't seen that confidence phased at all. I've seen him a little frustrated. I've seen him perhaps pressing, And I think even for a great hitter like Gary, you go through some struggles and you start chasing hits or you start chasing results. And that's when you can fall into being overly aggressive, where we see him chase some breaking balls because I think he's up there wanting to get a result so bad, and that's worked against him. And to the pitcher's credit, I think they've use that aggressiveness against him a little bit while he goes through this little bit of a struggle.
Do you, and I think you're right. I don't think he's lost any confidence. I agree with that. And plus, he is a very gifted natural hitter. I don't think there's any question. He's a wonderful hitter. Do you look at a guy like Didi, and who you gave the day off today against the lefty, do you look at him as now being not back to where he was in April, but now completely over the month he had? I mean, did a couple of home runs solidify that for you? Do you still think there's an issue, or do you think now he's pretty much past those tough days he had?
Yeah, I think he's through that, no question. I think for really about the last couple of weeks, I think we've started to see him just better at bats, obviously mixing in more hits, the power the other night. So yeah, I do believe that he's through what was a really tough 3-4 week stretch for him. I don't know if we'll ever get back to the April run. I mean, that was one of those that we'll probably talk about at the end of his career. Remember that month he had in April where he really carried us. But yes, I feel like he's in a much better place. I feel like he's consistently getting himself into position. I don't think he had a hit last night, but a couple of walks. He's controlling the strike zone again much better, and I think putting himself in a position to impact the ball again, like we saw with the couple homers.
With Gray last night, I didn't see the first inning. I was in the car and I was listening, and he threw a lot of pitches and he got out of the inning okay without a lot of damage in the first inning. I actually thought the other innings, I thought he really only made one mistake. I thought he threw the ball okay last night.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I think the first inning, in a way, did him in a little bit because, I think the 34 pitches did take a toll. And even in that first inning, he gave up the hard hit ball to open the game on a 2-strike pitch to Eaton. But then Turner had a long at bat against him where he's just fouling off pitches and gets the infield hit. He eventually gets out of it, but I think it taxed him a little bit. And then I would say the biggest mistake, frankly, he made of the night was when he had the 2 outs and he walked the guy.
Absolutely.
That eventually led to the home run, which was, kind of a fly ball to left.
It was.
You tip your cap to the kid and his ability, but, it was kind of a little fluky, but the walk really hurt him there, obviously. And the walk, could have potentially been a result of just how taxing the evening was, because even when he was getting outs, to the Nationals' credit, they made it tough on him. They spoiled a lot of pitches. So all in all, it turned into a little bit of a short night for him.
Ramon is a guy, if you look at his numbers, they don't look great, but he does have ability. He's got a couple of wicked pitches.
I think with the exception of 2 outings, those back-to-back outings where he struggled a little bit, he's been really good for us. He was good in the bullpen for us, and for the most part, his starts have been really strong. And it comes down to his fastball. If he can command his fastball to some degree, he's really tough to hit because his secondary stuff he's got a great feel for. He can spin the breaking ball.
He really
in
can.
There.
Yeah.
He's got a good changeup that he can throw behind in the count, and so the fastball when he's throwing it for a strike is really tough because it's mid-90s and he's got movement. So that's the key for me. If he can command the fastball enough, he's really tough to hit.
Tell me, tomorrow we'll see him. We'll talk about Aaron Boone, of course. Jonathan Loaisiga is tomorrow now. We've heard about him, don't know that much about him. I mean, I can look at the numbers, but tell me, what's the scouting report? What do you see in this guy? What are you expecting?
Yeah, he kind of jumped off the screen to a lot of us in spring training. I think he barely pitched in a game, but you just watch this kid, and I think he's going to be a really good pitcher in this league. It may be still a year from now or whatever, but he's up here more as a need right now. But I think you're really going to like watching this kid go. It's really good stuff. He's mid, even upper 90s at times with the fastball, and it's like he's playing catch. It's a real athletic, simple delivery. The secondary pitches are really good. He just needs experience now. I think he, coming back from injury last year, ended up throwing like 30 innings or whatever. He's off to a really good start this year. But this is a guy that, whatever the result is tomorrow and however he does, I bet you'll watch and go, yeah, I see what they like in this guy. He's got a chance to be a really good one.
Now, he's not a big guy. He's just he's not. I don't want to say he's as small as Pedro, but he's kind of like on that kind of build, right? He's kind of a thin, kind of Guidry or a Pedro Martinez kind of build, right?
Yeah, he's not 6 feet tall. He looks really young. When he almost looks like like a freshman in college or something. He just looks like a kid, and he gets out there and it's just a real simple delivery, and it's an electric arm with command. He'll come out and throw strikes tomorrow, I expect. And the other thing I like about him is the way he kind of carries himself. There's a humility about him, but there's also I don't think he'll be overwhelmed at all by pitching in the big leagues and pitching obviously at Yankee Stadium. I don't think he'll get caught up into it. That's my guess.
You slid Boone down. You slid Bird down last night, and he responded with a couple of hits. He got himself, a couple of big hits last night. He has struggled. Now, he hasn't had a lot of at-bats yet. How have you felt about what you've seen quality of his at-bats so far? Yeah,
I haven't been as concerned with Bird. I've been probably like everyone, and even Birdie, like a little frustrated that the results haven't necessarily been there of late, because I feel like the at-bat quality is there. I don't feel like he's struggling. I feel like he's recognizing pitches. I feel like his strike zone knowledge is there. Even though he hasn't walked a lot yet, I feel like he's getting into some good counts, and I just feel like there's been some pitches maybe this last week before the breakout yesterday where he's gotten a pitch, he's been on it, he's been on time, and instead of sticking it in the seats or impacting it in a gap or something, it's kind of been like a medium fly ball or a hard hit ball to the right side or something. So I feel like it's been really close actually, and it was good to see him get some results out of it yesterday.
And, the other guy is Betances. We wondered about it. We've seen him gone through a lot of things recently. We saw him when he was unhittable, where he was unbelievable. And then we've seen what's going on the last couple of years. And now he's starting to look a little bit like his old self again. I mean, now I still want to see him when he's got to hold the runner on, or somebody wants to run on him, or field the bunt, or that kind of stuff. But as far as what he's doing, as far as getting people out, he's starting to look like the old Betances.
Yeah, he's in a really good place, Mike. I got so many questions on Dellin early in the season, and understandably, and I felt like people thought I was blowing smoke when I said I really think he's in a really good place with his delivery and really close to taking off. I think he had the struggle on like the third game of the season where they stole home off.
Right.
So it was a big story, but it was in the end it was kind of a couple of bad hitters, and I just feel like he's in a great place with his delivery. He's actually quickened up his delivery, and I think it's helped him. I think it's helped him be more consistent, and he's throwing the ball right now frankly, as well as he has at any time in his career.
Yeah, he looks good.
He's that locked in.
Listen, he's a guy who strikes out everybody, as we know. He can be there. But does he have, and I think that's the important thing, does he have some confidence that he can handle these situations now is really what I think is important for him.
I think he does, and the one thing we've kind of encouraged him because he has sped up his delivery a little bit. We want look, the base stealers against him are gonna steal bases against him, but we want to eliminate the average runner or the guy that shouldn't be stealing a base necessarily stealing. And we feel like with his delivery now, it's in a place where he should be able to eliminate that. He can vary his looks. We don't need him to be a master at holding runners by any means, but just control it enough to where the guys that shouldn't be running don't.
I thought you have at times pushed the envelope with Holder where I wasn't as confident in where you as you clearly were, but he now looks like you've done that with him, and he seems like he's become a much more confident pitcher with each bit of assignment that you've given him. Yeah,
he's really been frankly a pleasant surprise. We had to send him out pretty early. Even though he won the job in spring, I didn't feel like he was throwing the ball that well yet in spring training. and he's been a different guy. He's gone to more of a slider, which has become a real factor, whereas he was more fastball, curveball prior, and the slider's become a really good pitch for him, but also the changeup for left-handed hitters has become a real good pitch. And the one thing he does really well, he comes in, he fills up the strike zone. So there's not going to be a lot of free passes out there. He pitches with a confidence. There's he's kind of fearless out there. And look, the bottom line is he has earned a more significant role as time has gone on with quality outing after quality outing.
Well, you've challenged him with that. You really have. You've put him in those spots. I mean, that's the first thing you got to do is challenge a guy, right? Is put him in the important part of the game and give him a chance to see if he can get through it.
No question, because the more guys we can create like that, the more we can protect. They can protect each other down there. I really feel like the more guys, if you can have a fourth and a fifth guy that you can feel confident about in the higher leverage situations, then you don't have to wear guys out throughout the course of the regular season. Because that's part of the battle, too, is trying to keep these guys as best you can fresh so that, come August, September, and hopefully on into October, they're not spent because you're using your main guys every single night.
You probably got more games rained out than anybody. I think you did, as a matter of fact. And, so they're going to drop these dates in on you like Monday where you got to go play the suspended game and then play the regular game against Washington right in the middle of a homestand. So you got some of that with what went on this year. So obviously that's something you got to keep in the back of your mind, right, when you're talking about what you're doing with your bullpen and everything else.
Yeah, and that's part of like giving Didi a day. I wanted to get him a day, knowing we're in a tough stretch here where we have to go on that road. So I knew I was going to pick a day where he'd have to be down. And I felt like today against a really tough lefty, it probably made the most sense. So yeah, you got to kind of pick your spots and do your best to keep these guys fresh, and that's part of the battle of a long season, especially when we have some makeups.
Your team's been really for the last, say, 40 games, maybe even more, the team's been incredibly consistent. It really has. It's had very few bad runs or very few slumps. It really has been doesn't lose series. It's been an incredibly consistent team.
Yeah, and I think part of that, obviously our offense gets talked about a lot, and rightfully so, but I think the thing that after, our bullpen struggled a little bit the first couple of weeks of the season, they've been really good. But the starting pitching, for as much as people talk about our needs, and we've had some injuries, and at times we haven't got great length out of our starters overall have been really pretty strong and allowed us, I think, to consistently win games, because whether it's a 5-inning outing or a 7 or 8 innings or where Sevy's routinely got deeper in the game, they've actually pitched pretty well and give us an opportunity to win every night.
Tanaka, do you have any update on what kind of length or what kind of time you're looking at with him yet?
I don't think it's going to be that long. He's already been playing catch, although he got sick yesterday, so he got sent home yesterday, and he's home today. We don't think it's anything serious, a little inner ear virus or something. So, and it really shouldn't affect his rehab at all, because with the hamstring, he's just kind of playing catch and stuff right now. We'll probably have a better picture about a time frame in the next couple of days, but I feel like it's going to be, on the shorter side of things. We're hoping maybe a couple, 3 times through his rotation spot, and then hopefully be back for us.
All right. Thanks, Aaron, very much. Have a good weekend. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Aaron Boone on the Yankees as they will take on Tampa this weekend. As we said, they've been very consistent. The lineup: Hicks, Judge, Stanton, Sanchez back after the 2 days off. See if he can get going. Torres comes up to the 5-hole tonight. Andahar. Austin is the DH. Torres plays short for Didi, gives Didi the day off today against the lefty, and then Walker plays first base with Herman on the mound. Tomorrow, they'll bring up the youngster. Jonathan Loaisiga is going to pitch tomorrow, as we just talked about. So you'll see him, and then they do go to Washington Monday for the suspended game. Will start at 5, and then the regular game after that, then they come right back home. So it's 1 day in Washington. Remember, they have a couple of makeup games and doubleheaders to get to, because they did have a tremendous amount of rainouts for them, really an inordinate amount early in the season. Back after this.